What's going on, everyone? I hope you are doing amazing as always. Today we're talking about protein powder, both whey protein powder and plant-based protein powder. We're going to look at the ingredients you should avoid and ingredients that you should look for. So let's get right into it. So for this video, I went to both Walmart and Whole Foods. We're going to start at Walmart and take a look at their protein powder options. Let's start off with the classic whey protein. This one is by Body Fortress. So before we go too far into the ingredients, let me explain to you the different types of whey. So we have whey protein concentrate and whey protein isolate. Whey protein concentrate is just what's left over, or the byproduct of the cheese making process. And then whey protein isolate takes that a step further and isolates the protein away from the milk solids. So whey protein isolate actually has more protein and less lactose. So if you're sensitive to lactose or you're lactose intolerant, then whey protein isolate is going to be your best option. So this protein powder uses a blend of whey protein concentrate and isolate. And the next ingredient we see is maltodextrin. So maltodextrin usually comes from GMO corn. It's used as a filler just to bring down the cost of the product and increase their profits. It's extremely high on the glycemic index and can actually alter your gut bacteria in a negative way. So I do recommend avoiding maltodextrin if you see it on the back of a protein powder. Next, we see cocoa, perfectly fine just to give it that chocolate flavor. Sunflower lecithin, very common emulsifier you're going to see in a ton of products. Natural and artificial flavors. If you haven't already watched my video on natural flavors, I suggest you do that, and you'll know that natural flavors is not too different from artificial flavors. And then we keep going and we see asulfame potassium and sucralose. So asulfame potassium and sucralose have a similar effect as maltodextrin. These are artificial sweeteners that can change the beneficial bacteria in your gut and can contribute to things like inflammation and infection. There are animal studies done that show that these artificial sweeteners can even damage the DNA in your gut and can trigger things like liver damage. Now, it is animal studies, not human studies, so we always have to take that into effect. But I will link these studies and an article from Dr. Mercola down in the description so you can read more. Next, we'll look at a very popular brand, Premier Protein. A lot of people were wondering about this one, and again, similar ingredients to the one we just looked at. It's good to see that they are using whey protein isolate as the first ingredient before concentrate. In my opinion, whey protein isolate is just a higher quality form of protein just because it takes it one step further and filters out any of those milk solids. So if we keep looking down the list, we see soluble corn fiber. Again, if it's coming from corn, we need to make sure it's non-GMO. And on the front of this package, it does not say anything about non-GMO. So right away, that's a red flag, and I'm not going to suggest this one. If we keep going down the list, again, very similar ingredients. We see natural and artificial flavors, asulfame potassium, and sucralose. This one was a little misleading because right on the front it says 100% grass-fed whey protein, which is great. That is exactly what you want to see. There's much more nutrients in grass-fed cows than these conventional cows that are just fed grain all year long. But again, we're seeing things like maltodextrin, natural flavors, and sucralose. A quick comment on natural flavors. It's so difficult to find a protein powder that doesn't have natural flavors in it. I found, I think, 2 at Whole Foods that I'm going to talk about later, but at the very least, I would like to see organic natural flavors. But they're still using things like sucralose in here as well. So it's really totally defeating the purpose of these grass-fed protein powders, which I love to see the grass-fed, but I don't like to see maltodextrin and sucralose. All right, Muscle Milk. Everybody loves this brand. I think I used to have this growing up just because they advertise right on the front, 32 grams of protein. Man, that's amazing. But this one was actually one of the worst protein powders that I found. So we have whey protein concentrate, whey protein isolate, soluble vegetable powder, which is fine. Their creamer contains sunflower oil. It's not organic. Maltodextrin, again, very popular. Maltodextrin again, we see maltodextrin twice in here. And then we see canola oil, such a low quality oil that's going to create an inflammatory response within your body. definitely an oil I recommend avoiding. Not sure why they're even putting it in protein powder. Most likely just used as a filler. And natural and artificial flavors, asulfame potassium, sucralose. Again, this is a big no-no, guys. Do not buy muscle milk. Pure protein, it's going to be very similar ingredients. I don't want to keep going over the same things here, but again, we see things like maltodextrin, asulfame potassium, and sucralose. This brand, Isopure, was one of the best whey proteins that I found at Walmart, and we see on the front it says GMO free, which is exactly what we want to see, because when we look at the ingredients, they use whey protein isolate, which is great, and then soy lecithin. And if anything coming from corn or soy is most likely going to be GMO, so I'm glad this is GMO free. So now let's get into some of the plant-based protein powder options at Walmart. And when buying plant-based protein, I always recommend going for organic, because the plants that are found in these powders are heavily sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, so I always recommend going organic. So this brand here, Vega, actually doesn't have bad ingredients, but it's not organic, so I don't recommend it. They're using pea protein, pea starch, natural flavors. That's pretty high up on the list, which is a little bit of a red flag in my opinion. Natural flavors comes before things like the spinach and the kale, so I don't know, that just doesn't sit well with me. It is great to see that they're using stevia instead of those artificial sweeteners like sucralose or asulfame potassium. But again, I wish this was organic. Just a quick side note about plant-based protein powders. There was a study done a few years ago, and it found that a lot of the leading plant-based protein powder brands tested very high in heavy metals, which is pretty concerning. I don't want to get too much into that now, but I am going to leave a few articles and studies down in the description if that's something you want to look further into. Finally, we can get into a good, high-quality plant-based protein powder. This brand, Purely Inspired Organic Plant-Based Protein Powder, is very good. Let's look at these ingredients. Organic protein blend. All of these plants are organic, which is great. What we want to see when we're buying plant-based protein powders. They're using organic coconut creamer with coconut oil. We see organic natural flavors, which is okay in my book. Some people will argue otherwise. And then organic cane sugar. I think it was only 1 or 2 grams of added sugar, which is totally okay. And then they're even adding in a probiotic, Bacillus coagulans. This is a beneficial or good type of bacteria that's good for your gut, as opposed to those artificial sweeteners like asulfame potassium and sucralose that actually kills the good bacteria in your gut. This one is putting in good bacteria. So this is way better. And they're using stevia, which is a great alternative to those artificial sweeteners that I was talking about earlier. All right, let's talk about Orgain protein powder, and I get a lot of questions about this one, and for the most part, I like it, and it's one of the best options that you can find here at Walmart. So again, they're using an organic protein blend, all organic plants, organic creamer base, and in this base, you can see organic high oleic sunflower oil, and I just want to take 1 second to talk about high oleic sunflower oil versus conventional sunflower oil. So the main reason I don't suggest consuming vegetable oils like soybean oil, canola oil, and sunflower oil is because, one, they are high in omega-6 fats and not high in omega-3s, and they oxidize easily, which is not good for our cells and our mitochondria. But organic high oleic sunflower oil has a better omega-6 to 3 ratio, and in the process of making this oil, it doesn't oxidize as easily. So that's why I'm actually okay with high oleic sunflower oil in this case. Again, it's not the highest quality oil. It's not like olive oil or avocado oil. They're also using erythritol as the sweetener instead of those other artificial sweeteners that we've gone over in every protein powder. So erythritol can give some people some digestive problems if consumed in large amounts, but as long as you keep it in low amounts and not throughout the day, you should be totally fine, and it's a relatively safe sweetener. So now we are heading over to Whole Foods to look at some better options. They just have a much better selection at Whole Foods, but I do want to let you know that I'm putting the links to all of these good protein powders in the description, linking them on Amazon. They were a lot cheaper on Amazon than Whole Foods, so I just wanted to let you guys know of that. This grass-fed whey protein by Garden of Life has pretty high quality ingredients. Just a side note, Nestle does own Garden of Life, so just keep that in mind when you are out buying protein powders. But these ingredients are great. They're using whey protein isolate, organic cocoa. They do use organic creamer flavor and organic chocolate flavor, which is just another name for natural flavors. I hate that they use that, but organic is better than regular natural flavors. And again, they're using stevia as the sweetener, which is a great alternative to those artificial sweeteners. They also have a plant-based protein powder, again, organic, very similar ingredients, definitely approve. This grass-fed whey protein by Terra's is one of the best that I've seen both in stores and online. Their unflavored one is just 2 ingredients, whey protein concentrate and sunflower lecithin. And then their flavored ones, finally one that doesn't use natural flavors. They're using real organic cocoa and organic stevia as the sweetener. Great to see. Oh, okay, Garden of Life. This was the best plant-based protein powder that doesn't use natural flavors. This one is unflavored and it doesn't have any stevia if you are sensitive to stevia. Some people are, but it's very rare. All organic ingredients, which you love to see, and then they actually have a raw probiotic and enzyme blend towards the end of the ingredient list, which is amazing. These organic protein powders, again, by Garden of Life, are great. They do have organic natural flavor, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not bad. Oh, Sunwarrior is a great brand. I use this one in my morning smoothies a lot. The texture of this just tastes so good. I've recommended it to a few of you already. The only thing, again, in here, they use organic chocolate flavor, which, if you watch my natural flavors video, you know that it's better than regular natural flavor. But I mean, the taste and texture of this protein powder is just unlike any other. I highly recommend trying it, and I'll link it down in the description. Ollie is another brand. They do use a protein blend that's not organic, so I don't love it. And it has 6 grams of added sugar. You really just don't need to get something like this when you can find some other alternatives without any added sugar. And also they're using monk fruit and stevia, but then they still add cane sugar. So I'm not sure why they need to add 3 forms of sweeteners. And this was a brand I've never seen before. Kos, K-O-S, I'm not sure how you pronounce it / say it. But very similar to some other ones we've looked at. It's an organic protein blend, and then they are still using organic vanilla flavor, which we've already touched on. I do want to note that I'm leaving a few more links down below to protein powders that you can only find online. The ingredients are just so much better than the options that you can find at the store. They are a little more expensive, but there's reason for that. So again, leave your questions, comments below. Like this video if you enjoyed watching it, and I'll see you guys next time.